Alanis Morissette is bashing the HBO documentary Jagged that is about her. Huh. Kind of ironic, don't you think? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and I couldn't resist. I'm going to put in as many Alanis Morissette puns as I can because I am a fan, and I'm so excited to be here with Stef, the alter nerd. How are you doing, Stef?
Hey up, I'm not doing too bad, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good. Look, I love me some Alanis Morissette. If anybody has watched me karaoke, one of my go-to songs is You Ought to Know. And HBO ought to know not to mess with this woman. This is pissing me off, and this is not the first time that HBO has done something like this, where they are making documentaries, Stef, that have agendas and want to share their own sort of viewpoints, and I'm getting sick of it, to be perfectly honest. So I wanted to break this down so you guys are aware to avoid this documentary, because the Queen herself doesn't want you to see it. She is ripping the salacious agenda of Jagged doc, including implications and facts that are simply not true, the singer says of HBO, film debuting today at TIFF. Now, there's another story about her going on about something she's admitted in her past, something horrific that has happened to her. I want to be careful of keywords and things. I want this story to get out there, but you can learn more about sort of the troubling things about the things that have happened to Alanis throughout her career and how some of that came about in this documentary. And it clearly made her uncomfortable. We don't know specifically what caused her to get so upset about the documentary, but we have a statement now explaining why there's an issue here. So she says, I agreed to participate in a piece about the celebration of Jagged Little Pill's 25th anniversary and was interviewed during a very vulnerable time while in the midst of my third postpartum depression during lockdown. I was lulled into a false sense of security, and their salacious agenda became apparent immediately upon my seeing the first cut of the film. This is when I knew our visions were in fact painfully diverged. This was not the story I agreed to tell. I sit here now experiencing the full impact of having trusted someone who did not warrant being trusted. I have chosen not to attend any event around this movie for two reasons. One is that I am on tour right now. The other, good plug, I love that she did that. She's like, don't support this dumb movie. Come support me live. Two, sorry, I lost my train. There it is. Two, the other is that, not unlike many stories and unauthorized biographies out there over the years, this one includes implications and facts that are simply not true. While there is beauty and some elements of accuracy in this, my story, to be sure, I ultimately won't be supporting someone else's reductive take on a story much too nuanced for them to ever grasp or tell. Now, this is a statement that came later. Now, the HBO and the filmmakers haven't commented, but the filmmaker herself, what's her name? Something Klayman. I don't know her for a first name. It's here somewhere, but Alison, there it is.
Alison Klayman.
Thank you. Alison Klayman did make a comment after apparently Morissette saw on Monday, after Morissette's reaction of the film after a private screening. She did say, it's a really hard thing to see a movie made about yourself. And I think she's incredibly brave. And her reaction when she saw it was that it was she could really feel all the work, all the nuance that went into it. Now, it's this quote from this director. F this director, personally. I think this is like gaslighting, telling us what she thought and how she could feel and see all the work that she put into her documentary. Dude, this is Alanis' story. She doesn't like what you told, so what are you doing? And I feel like Alanis now, this later full statement clearly is a knock at the director, sort of, and that word nuance. I won't be supporting someone's take, a story much too nuanced for them to ever grasp or tell. To me, Alanis is clearly very upset with the salacious sort of take that they are making. Now, Steph, I want to get your thoughts on this, but before I get too deep in the story, and I want to share our thoughts, this is not the first time HBO documentary has done this. Obviously, Leaving Neverland is a travesty. So many people just watched this film and bought its narrative, but the film never actually shares any facts. It avoids things that they don't want you to hear. It avoided topics that would have made this a much more interesting documentary if they were able to actually challenge these two who perjured themselves in a court of law multiple times. And they're still currently in a lot of legal battles because the Jackson estate is so furious with this film. And they have every right to be, because this film was a hit piece on a man who is no longer here to defend himself. It's the only reason that documentary came out. And it's why a lot of people, myself included, no longer will ever trust Oprah Winfrey, who was there, applauding Michael after his death and trying to get interviews with his kids, and then as time moved on, immediately slit his throat, saying she never believed him. She is a snake, if there ever was one. And this isn't the only one. Allen versus Farrow, the Woody Allen documentary. Look, I don't want to sit here and defend Woody Allen. I don't like the things he's done personally, but he hasn't really done anything criminal. And the reality is they've tried for a while to sue him. And if you really go dig deep on this, this would be a fascinating documentary. There is so much more to this story than the media, especially today's climate, wants to get into. And this Allen versus Farrow thing, there's a lot of hot takes out there. It's a total PR piece. It's a total PR piece for Mia Farrow. It takes interviews Allen did out of context because he refused to be interviewed. CBS didn't interview them, held it, and then used it later. It was sickening to me to see the bias and, again, this distorted narrative to tell a very complicated story that would have been so much better had HBO actually showed you both sides, because it would have required conversation and difficult conversations. And not like I'm defending or saying we would agree with everything Allen has done, but it at least would have given us more insight as to why he never was sued and why experts at the time didn't believe the child as a witness. These are key things that we need to have as part of, documentaries to let us tell, the real story. So, Stef, I want to get your thoughts, because this bugs me. This is now, I'm sure there's more, but this is now the third high-profile piece that HBO Films seems to be just spitting out to use name recognition, pissing off a lot of the people involved. And I'm really sad, because HBO as a brand used to be something that meant something. Their documentaries used to be really fantastic. And now it just seems like they're slowly turning into TMZ, where they're just sort of doing takes that they want to do, and they're going to stand by it no matter what. And, oh, well, sorry you didn't like it. It's our artistic vision, and you can't handle the truth. You should be grateful for all the work and the nuance we put into it. Steph, does this bother you as much as it bothers me?
Yes. I am angry. I am livid. I am peeved. And if it wasn't for YouTube, I would be screaming expletives right now all over your ear holes, because when it comes down to it, and again, YouTube, we've got to be careful with what we say here. Alanis Morissette's a survivor. How dare you, Director Klayman, turn around and say, this is a story, this is what we're going to be releasing. And release it when the main person, the survivor, is turning around and saying, no, that's not the story. That's not really what happened. You've got some of the truth, but not all of it. If a survivor's turning around and saying that, and you're trying to tell a survivor's story, and you've not got it 100% because the survivor's telling you you haven't got it 100%, don't release it. Do not release it. Amend what needs to be amended based on the survivor's truth, and then frickin' release it. But no, it has to be salacious. There has to be something, whatever. No. I'm a survivor. If I was in that position and someone was doing the story on me and they didn't get 100% of the truth right, I would be absolutely livid, just like Alanis. You are doing a disrespect to Alanis and her story and what she's been through by not 100% showing exactly what happened based on her truth. You're basically shizzing all over her. And it's not on. And this whole thing on Hollywood, the whole Me Too movement, and we stand with survivors, this, that, and the other. Where's this director standing with the survivor right now by absolutely backstabbing Alanis, releasing something that Alanis isn't 100% backing right now? Nah, it's disgusting. And this director should be absolutely ashamed of herself right now, and HBO and everyone else that's backing this and allowing this to go ahead.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's why I always love when Steph can join us. I mean, look, I think documentaries sometimes do need to tell the hard story, right? It's like, I loved that Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, right? But he was a producer on that. And there were some criticisms about that documentary as to why didn't he talk more about his father? There is some questionable stuff about his father, some of the things he did. There's a couple other areas in his life that they sort of, glossed over pretty quickly because he was, wanted to tell that story. I understand that from his perspective, and I understand why people get annoyed saying, well, no, I want the real story. I don't want the artist to approve it all, because they're not going to want to approve the warts and all. But here's my problem. You told her what the story was. You made an agreement with Alanis. You made a documentary. You got her on camera, her permission to do this 25th anniversary about this album. apparently agreeing to tell a story, and then decided to go tell your own story on her footage. And that's where I have umbrage. Like, this is where it's really shady of you. And I'm with Stef on this, especially if she's a victim and a survivor and doesn't want that story told in this and doesn't like the way your nuances held her story, then you should go back to the edit room and figure out how to fix it. But you can't, Stef. They can't, because it's premiering at the Toronto Film Festival. It's all part of the Hollywood machine. They don't care about what's right. They just need to have a Alanis Morissette documentary out before she's no longer relevant, because her album's having a 25th anniversary is how they see it, right? She's relevant this year because it's one of the best albums of all time, highest selling albums, one of Canada's biggest celebrities at a time when put Canada on the map, and still a legend to me. But clearly right now the nostalgia anniversary has made her more topical, and so they don't want to sit for another year and re-edit this. They need to. Time is money, Stef. Time is money, and that's why I'm sad at HBO. HBO used to mean something. It's not. What is it? It's not TV. It's HBO. There used to be a quality and an artist's like vision, and from their documentaries to just everything. It's gone. We are just spitting out content, disrespecting the artists. We don't care anymore about what the truth is. It's really, really discouraging. So I'm happy we can report on this for you guys, so you can avoid this one. I don't want to support this one. If she's unhappy with this and she had an agreement to tell this story, which to me, this is her story to tell, filmmaker, not yours. You would have no movie without her agreeing to do the interview, right? And for you to trick her and then have no problem showing her footage out of context to your own nuance and not hers, completely disrespectful, no interest, refuse to support this film. You guys can make your own decisions at home, but I will not be watching this, and that's what we do here. Just give you a heads up so you can make your own decision. Steph, final words on this, though.
This is Alanis Morissette's story, not Klayman's story. Klayman has no business whatsoever changing it to fit into a mold where it's going to be more like Salacious and it's going to attract more eyeballs. No, the story's a story. It shouldn't be amended. It shouldn't be changed whatsoever, and parts of it shouldn't be omitted or anything like that. It's Alanis' story to tell, and if she ain't 100% backing this film, then no one else should either, because this is a survivor's story that someone else is profiting on and changing to profit even more on. And that's disgusting. And that, to me, I know you made the comparison, Andy, with The Last Dance and Michael Jordan, but that's apples and oranges. The Last Dance was about Chicago Bulls and their golden era, this, that, and the other. This is about a survivor's story, a different kettle of fish to me. So, yeah, I definitely do not personally, let's say, support this documentary at all. Not a chance.
Well said. Look, all I really want is for people to live and learn. We're not perfect, but she is not forgiven. I will not keep my hands in my pocket. I can't support this film. And I will fight head over feet to support my woman, Alanis Morissette. And I hope you all got the references I just did, because I am a fan. Thank you, Steph, for being here. Go subscribe to the Steph the Alternate on YouTube. Gets amazing takes over there. Always awesome to have you here, Steph. Make sure you subscribe here as well. Hit the bell for all alerts, as well as that subscribe button, because YouTube doesn't want these videos in your feed. Smash the like button. We're building a community, even though they don't want us to. Leave a comment. Help the algorithm. Tell us your thoughts on this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.